justice system that focuses on recovery, reconciliation, and rehabilitation rather than punishment and retribution. In other words, it refers to an approach to justice that seeks to repair harm by providing an opportunity for those harmed and those who take responsibility for the harm to communicate about and address their needs in the aftermath of a crime. The goal is to restore the broken relationship between the perpetrator, victim, and society. One of the main principles of restorative justice is the active participation of all parties involved in the judicial process. Perpetrators, victims, and the community are invited to discuss the impact of such acts of violation and seek adequate solutions. Restorative justice also emphasizes accountability and personal responsibility. The perpetrator is expected to acknowledge his actions, take responsibility for the consequences he has caused, and seek to repair the harm he has caused. This approach also helps the perpetrator understand and feel the negative impact of his action, which can encourage positive behavior change. In addition, restorative justice also puts the victim at the center of attention. It allows the victim to convey his experiences, express emotions, and gain personal recovery. Involving the victim in the judicial process gives him a better sense of justice and make him feel healed. It is worthy of note that the restorative justice approach focuses on crime prevention by improving social relationships, strengthening communities, and providing effective alternatives in dealing with crimes. Restorative justice can help prevent future crimes from occurring. This in effect means re-emphasizing rehabilitation and social integration more than relying solely on prison sentences as the sole solution. However, the implementation of restorative justice also faces some challenges. Some of these challenges are: one, that there is still concern and resistance from some members of society and the criminal justice system to this approach. Some may feel that this approach is too lenient towards the perpetrator and lacks consideration for justice for the victim. Two, adequate resources, including time, funds, and labor, are needed to properly carry out the restorative justice process. Three, it is essential to balance between restorative justice and the traditional criminal justice system. Restorative justice should not be seen to replace the criminal justice system, but should be an adjunct that can be applied in possible cases. Each case shall be assessed individually to determine if restorative justice is the most appropriate approach. Now, what are the factors to be considered in implementing restorative justice? There are so many factors, but some of these factors are: one, that restorative justice must be based on equality and respect for all parties' dignity. Everyone should be treated fairly and respectfully, including the victim, perpetrator, and affected members of society. Secondly, the restorative justice process must involve effective and open communication between all parties. This includes providing space for emotional expression, active listening, and opportunity to listen to each other. Good communication allows a better understanding between victim and perpetrator. Three, restorative justice must be supported by the principle of confidentiality and security. Each party involved should feel safe and protected throughout the process, especially victims who may be vulnerable to bullying or revenge. Confidentiality facilitates honesty and sincerity. Four, involving the community as an integral part of the recovery process is essential. Society is vital in supporting and facilitating social integration. Community involvement can also help reduce the stigmatization of victims and perpetrators and strengthen positive social bonds. Now, what are the impact of restorative justice on the perpetrator, the victim, and the society? Restorative justice can have a significant impact on perpetrators. It allows the offender to admit responsibility for his action. This can help the perpetrator understand the adverse effect of his actions on the victim and society. The impact on the victim. Victims also experience a significant impact of restorative justice. This allows the victim to convey his experience directly to the perpetrator. This gives a feeling of validation and allows the victim to get an explanation of the perpetrator's actions. This process can help the victim to gain a sense of recovery, accept the apology given by the perpetrator, and begin the healing process. Impact on the society. Restorative justice can also positively impact society. This approach encourages building safer and more connected communities, where conflicts are resolved through dialogue and reconciliation, rather than just punishment or retaliation. In conclusion, let me state here that restorative justice is not always suitable for all types of crime. In particular, violent or systematic crimes, achieving full reconciliation between the perpetrators and victims can be difficult. Taking other approaches, such as strict punishment by applicable law, may be necessary in such a situation. It is also important to remember that restorative justice is not a single solution to all problems in the criminal justice system. It is essential to consider each case individually to determine whether or not restorative justice is quite appropriate. I wish to state here that the CJ wanted to say more, but because of the time constraint, this is all she was able to tell me to put on paper. So I wish you robust deliberation, and at the end of the day, I hope that each and every one of us will have something to go home with. Thank you very much.